I am doing a series on the meals that we have eaten in the last couple weeks, and this is part 3 for 2025. If you're just meeting me, my name is Amy Cross, and I'm the author of the Zero Waste Produce Guide, and I teach how to go grocery shopping and spend less money and have all the ingredients in your house that you need. We are an allergy family, and we buy mostly organic, and our grocery budget is $135 per person. Currently, it's just my husband and I living here, so our grocery budget for the month is $270. I'm going to teach you all of the meals that I've made in the last 2 weeks so you can follow along. And if there's recipes that you want, make sure to leave comments for those. We will help you find the recipe link, or it will be coming out soon in the newsletter. So make sure that you sign up for our newsletter, and that link is in the description. So the first meal that we had on this playlist is spinach salad with hot bacon dressing. And we had some hard-boiled eggs with this. Now, we haven't been to the grocery store at this point in 15 days, and my spinach is still perfect. And we normally make hard-boiled eggs. Well, we have backyard chickens, but they don't lay in the wintertime. But we normally make hard-boiled eggs to have in the refrigerator as snacks or easy breakfasts. But right now, to buy eggs at the grocery store, it is so expensive. So we have been cutting back on that a little bit. But at our local 𝐂𝐿𝐍𝐿, a 5-dozen pack of eggs was $36, which is just crazy to me. So we had spinach salad with hard-boiled eggs and hot bacon dressing, and that recipe is on the blog. My plan this day was to make a whole chicken. So the night before, I had pulled it out of the freezer and put it in the refrigerator. Around 2 o'clock-ish, when I had got home from a meeting, I went to go prep it a little bit and realized it was still frozen solid. So it would have been super easy to kind of give up and say, oh, we'll do this another day. But if you didn't know, you can actually cook a whole frozen chicken in the Instapot. So it was perfect for me to rub that up with butter and herbs and then put it in the Instapot. I let this cook for an entire hour, and then we went to the hospital to visit a friend. And when we got back home, the chicken was ready to go, and I just put it under the broiler a little bit for a few minutes, and it made it have the brown, nice skin that you normally would have. And so that way, whole frozen chicken, it didn't ruin dinner. We were out and about, and it would have been easy just to go get takeout, but we stuck with our plan and it worked out. So don't let a frozen chicken ruin your dinner. Now, after I deboned the chicken, after we were all done with it that night, I did put the bones back in the Instapot. It was still dirty from cooking the chicken in there too, so I didn't even have to clean it. And I added my stock ingredients, which are carrots, celery, and onions, and some garlic, and filled it up with water. We had homemade chicken stock that we woke up to the next morning, and it made the house smell amazing. It was the weekend, and we woke up with the house smelling like chicken noodle soup. It was chicken stock, and we don't normally have leftovers the same 3 days in a row or 2 days in a row, but with those smells going on and it was cold and rainy, I wanted either chicken noodle soup, chicken and dumplings, or chicken pot pie. And I knew I had all the ingredients to make all 3 of those. And so as the day progressed, I decided on making chicken pot pie because I had frozen pie crusts in the freezer. And I told Mike he couldn't have thirds, or I was going to eat my leftovers the next day for lunch and he would just have to watch me. I have been making bagels, and you can make them either with Greek yogurt or cottage cheese, and they're the perfect thing to make when you're getting ready to go grocery shopping and you still have some Greek yogurt or cottage cheese that you want to use up. It's super simple with just 3 ingredients. It takes 5 minutes to put together, and then you put them in the oven to bake, and you can have homemade bagels at any time. I made some, they're called Raceday Cookies. This is what somebody on Instagram had posted as a recipe, and they were so good. We will put this recipe down and link her Instagram, but I was able to use up a bunch of the hearty items that were in my pantry. This had a lot of the same ingredients that I would use in protein balls, but they were cookies. So flaxseed and hemp hearts and chia seeds were in these cookies. It also called for applesauce, and we are out of applesauce right now, but I had some canned homemade pears, and I ended up cooking that down a little bit to make it into pear sauce. And that way I was able to use it for these cookies. And then also we used the pear sauce just to eat as a side. And since we haven't been eating those pears up as quickly as I would like, I think I'm going to make some more pear sauce that we will have something new to mix into our meals. But I was eating those cookies too much and I ended up freezing half of them because I didn't want to have more than one cookie a day. And so these were a perfect thing to put in the freezer, and then you just pull them out like 10 or 15 minutes before you want to have a cookie. So on this day, Mike was actually sick. He finally got the cold that had been going around. We think it was from our hospital visits, but who knows? And all he wanted was macaroni and cheese. And I keep a couple boxes of Kraft macaroni and cheese in the pantry, kind of hidden away so nobody can see them, so I can pull them out when somebody's not feeling good, because you know, sometimes you just want your childhood comfort foods. So we had Kraft macaroni and cheese and chicken strips for dinner. I call myself an 80-20 family. So 80% of the time I'm trying to buy whole organic items and make the best possible meals I can with the ingredients that we have. And 20%, it's okay. With Mike being sick, I have been trying to keep him as far away from me as possible, and also drinking fire cider. So, which just kind of helps build your immunity up a little bit. But I had 4 speaking events coming up in the next week, and I absolutely did not want to get sick, at least until I got through all of these events. Now, fire cider isn't something that I take every day, and it's not for the faint of heart. It is pretty strong. If you're looking for something for the entire family, we have an elderberry syrup recipe and an elderberry gummy recipe that's more family friendly. Mike was requesting a meatloaf, and it was just a snowy, kind of calm day at home. And so I was able to make meatloaf not only for that night, but I made a couple extra to put in the freezer. And I made mashed potatoes. So I put Greek yogurt and Parmesan cheese in my mashed potatoes, and they freeze perfectly so I can defrost them at any time. So I ended up making extra mashed potatoes and putting those in the freezer so I can put them on top of shepherd's pie in the coming month. On this day, I made a pork loin, which I put in the Instapot, or you can do it in a crock pot. I don't put the barbecue sauce on it until after I've divided it up into freezer meals. So I was able to have the meal for dinner, and then I put a couple more away in the freezer. And this like lets it be a little bit more versatile. I can pull it out and season it however I want when I go to use it. So we had pulled pork sandwiches and homemade canned peaches for dinner. And with the rest of those peaches, Mike will have cottage cheese and peaches, which is one of his favorite things, in the next couple of days to finish up that large jar. And the next night, we actually had 2 different things that were both leftovers, and it worked okay for us. I was gone most of the day, and I came home and just wanted to eat right when I walked in the door. So I had some leftover pulled pork and just some raw carrot sticks for dinner, and Mike ended up wanting mashed potatoes and meatloaf. So we were able to eat dinner quickly and use up some of those leftovers that we had. And I'm going to post this little video just because it was hilarious. So this is just a fashion tips from Mike video. So Mike was out running errands. He went to Home Depot. It would have been so easy to just tell him to stop by the store to get something I was craving, because for 3 days we had been talking about nachos to post on Instagram for the Super Bowl, and I didn't have any chips in the house, and all I could do was think about nachos. But I did have corn tortillas in the freezer, and I was able to spray those with oil and bake them and put a little bit of salt on them, and they worked for chips for us. So I was pretty proud of myself that even though Mike was out running errands, I didn't tell him to swing by the store. I used something I had, and we fixed that craving that I was having. So I haven't went to the grocery store since January 13th, and the day that I'm talking about was February 7th, and we still had fresh ingredients in the refrigerator. There was lettuce and peppers and onions. Most of all, there was still fresh avocados in the refrigerator. I was able to make tostadas that night for dinner, and it just filled all of the cravings that we had, and that produce was over 3 weeks old. I also made black beans with this. I've been making black beans recently just on the stovetop, pouring the whole can, including the juice in there, not rinsing them off, and with a teaspoon of cumin powder. And sometimes I'll put lemon or lime in it also, but those are the best black beans. Like, ever. So we had that with our tostadas, and we use Greek yogurt instead of sour cream. So we can use Greek yogurt in a lot of different ways, and that way we're not buying two different items at the grocery store. So being able to buy some versatile ingredients makes it so we can keep our grocery budget lower. If you want more tips on how to keep your produce items fresh for longer, I have a book called The Zero Waste Produce Guide, where it walks you through 75 of the top produce items that I have tips for and how to keep them fresh for weeks. And we have a book and grocery planner bundle that is available on our shop. So if you buy these two things together, they're on sale, and there is a special discount code also in the description. So make sure that you check out the Zero Waste Produce Guide and our grocery meal planner. I made a tri-tip roast, and this I marinated with some different seasonings, but also added some fresh orange juice from the oranges that we had left over from December. So I was able to use up the last 2 oranges we had to make this marinade, and I seared it on the stove and then put it in the oven to finish cooking. I also cooked the broccoli in the oven at the same time that the roast was cooking, so I didn't have to stand at the stove and watch anything. And after dinner, instead of making leftovers that would go into the refrigerator, I sliced the rest of the roast up really thinly, and then I put it in the freezer. We will pull that out of the freezer and make French dips with it. We're ending this video with taco salad that we had on Super Bowl Sunday. So we were still craving those nachos and wanting taco kind of things. So we had that for dinner, and I was trying to use up some of the items in my refrigerator because we were finally going grocery shopping the next day. And we'll put all of that information on the next video. But we also posted a grocery haul of the things that I got for our February groceries. Now don't forget, you see these videos a couple weeks after we have filmed them, but even after we have eaten the things. So my last grocery shopping trip was January 3rd, and the last day for this video would be February 9th. If you want more videos like this, links to the recipes, all the information, we read all of the questions every single day. So make sure that you leave those comments and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.